You ever notice you're like the funniest and most real version of yourself around people who you're close to? It could be like your sister, your brother, your best friend, whoever. But then when it's time to perform or do something that is deemed to be professional, you kind of like clam up. Well, that's been me until now. Today, we're talking about what it really means to take off the mask, to be who you are, to let it all hang out, and how it has changed my business. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the Jamilia Grier Show. It's so good to be speaking to you today in this format. I am doing audio only for this episode, so I feel even more relaxed talking to you guys. Seems like a long time since we've had just like a solo episode, just me speaking to you. And today we're talking about this superpower that we all have locked within ourselves, especially those who are looking to build a business that you absolutely have to tap into. Some people call it authenticity, some people call it self expression. I'm going to call it keeping it real. If you're building a business, if you're creating content, or even just figuring out who you are, this episode will hit home. So let me take you through my thought process for this because, when I first started out, even in my career and being a lawyer, and I talk about this a lot, I was a totally different person. I remember going into my summer program because those of you that are lawyers know that you have to summer before you get your official offer. So, like the summer before your final year, you're placed in a firm. And I remember, all the things that we talk about, like this imposter syndrome, this feeling like you don't fit in. And I think that's where it starts, where you feel like you need the mask, like you need a mask to fit into these spaces that are totally new to you, whether it's law school or like a new job or your professional life where, you have to dress like everybody else is dressing. You've got to speak the way everybody else is speaking. And over a period of time, you begin to hide parts of yourself. You begin to kind of just put away or stuff the things that don't fit in with what everybody else is doing. And I didn't realize how much I had been doing that. To be honest with you guys, like I didn't realize how much I had been doing that. And I think people who are in my generation, I really hate to give my age, but you know what? Let's go. We're talking about taking off the mask. So I'm in my 40s. People who are in your 40s, you have been doing this for a long time. And I encourage you today to use this episode as the point in time where you at the very least admit that you are doing this. That I'm not even asking you to change. I'm just saying you need to first admit that you are doing this because it is how we were raised. We were raised this way. And I'm telling you guys now, I work with people who are, at this point, I think they're old enough to be my children. They are not raised that way. In many regards, they are not raised to hide who they are. These are the people who, and when they were growing up, it's like, it's okay, be yourself. Do what you like to do. Oh, you want to play with dolls instead of trucks? You can do that. These are the people who have been giving the ultimate freedom of expression from a very early age. And that has been so enlightening to me as someone who wasn't given that. And it's coming out in different ways, and particularly in entrepreneurship, which is what I want to talk about today, is just, first of all, I think the first step is realizing that you have this mask, right? And how do you know you have this mask? Well, since you asked, it can come up in so many ways. It can come up in how you dress, the way you're always on social media scrolling to see you want to look like so and how do they dress, and you're dressing that way. It can come up in meetings where you're afraid to speak unless somebody else speaks. So we do all this crazy stuff to put on a mask. And today, you guys are going to admit in some way, shape, or form that you have this mask because it is so powerful. And if you don't admit that you have this mask, if you don't just come to the understanding and come to yourself like, okay, I have been doing this, I admit it, I have been doing this, then you will never, ever, ever get out of it. And that is the scary part. And that is why I chose to do this episode about this today, because I personally have been going through this over the past 4 years in my journey with being an entrepreneur. And a lot of you, have been following the show from when it was barely legal in Web3 and following my journey. You're like, oh, this is great. You guys don't know the behind the scenes. You guys don't know the amount of mass with an S at the end that I had to take off to do this. Like, how many masks was I wearing to get to the point where I would have a YouTube channel, where I would post my YouTube on LinkedIn, where I would be on TikTok with no makeup, just saying whatever. It is terrifying. It is terrifying, and it is so freeing. And that's what we're talking about today. The next thing that you need to do, really, after you identify the fact that you have this mask, and I know a lot of you are listening right now like, shit, I have this mask, right? It's a little bit scary, like, damn, I have this mask. The next thing you need to do is you just need to wake up and see the cost of hiding. So this is huge, because I haven't seen anybody ever put a price tag on this. And I consume a lot of content, meaning like, watching what other creators are doing and, observing from like a business standpoint and like, why does that brand want to work with them? Guys, in 2025, and admittedly, way before today, if you are able to express and communicate, so you've already identified that you have your mask, let's say you're able to take it off and you're able to express and communicate, which is the next point I'm going to get to, who you are, that is the biggest flex. From a marketing standpoint, from a branding standpoint, from a career standpoint. For those of you that are not interested in entrepreneurship, you're like, yeah, that's just for those entrepreneurs. No, it's also for a professional standpoint, any standpoint in this world. If you live on this planet, if you're able to take off your mask and see the cost of wearing the mask, of hiding, you would be shocked. So I'll give you some examples. I have been following this guy on TikTok. His name is Wisdom K, and he does basically now it's like high-end luxury fashion. And you guys are probably listening like, oh yeah, it's basic. But the way he does it, nobody would ever think to do it this way. And the way he engages with his community, people will be like, make your most expensive outfit. And he's like, fine, I'm going to make a $500,000 outfit for you guys and show you what that looks like. And he pulls it together. And then he breaks down, oh, this jacket costs $30,000. And I know you guys are listening like, what? But let me tell you, the way that this creator has given in to removing a mask, but also realizing the true value and being himself is just amazing. He is very creative, very expressive, but does things and wears skirts, wears heels. He's not even getting into like his identity of like what he identifies as. That's not part of the content. The part of the content is self-expression, right, and creativity. And so I looked at that and was like, well, damn. Why is everybody so attracted to what this guy is doing? Why is everybody cheering him on so much? Is it because of the cost of the outfit? I'm like, no, because sometimes people are like, show me your cheapest outfit. And he'll pull together a really nice looking cheap outfit for, let's say like $20, $50, I don't know. And it still looks as good as a $500,000 outfit. So it's not about the money. It's not about the cost of his outfits. it's about his creativity. It's about the fact that he took off every single mask to be able to come out and put together outfits that replicate cartoon characters or anime or flags or football teams or basketball teams or different vibes, like whatever it is. And it's all what people are suggesting to do. But this has landed him. I think he said he made $5 million last year just on creating content, just on brand deals alone. So, what does that mean for you? Can you even imagine the amount of money you are leaving on the table because you want to fit in, because you want to be the lawyer that somebody told you 20 years ago you should be, or you want to be the consultant that, you want to not disappoint your parents, you don't want to disappoint your friends, you're afraid of what people might say on LinkedIn. Look, I'm sorry, but LinkedIn it's not really a flex right now. I'll go on it, I'll use it, but guys, if you're posting on social media and you feel intimidated or hesitant because you're afraid of what people may think of you, you need to know that that's a cost that you're actually incurring a cost of hiding. There is no success without self-expression. And if you are successful and you're not able to express yourself, you probably feel really hollow. And I know because that's how I felt. And I talk about it again and again and again to you guys when I was working at the bank and I had the best role, the best title, the best salary of my whole life. And I felt empty. I felt empty. I could have been doing any job, making any money, but I felt empty because I was not able to express myself in the way that I wanted to, in the way that was true to who I am. And a lot of us really, 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 I see people who are, in very senior and leadership positions and, super successful, but they reserve all of their fun time for the weekends. And I just wonder, like, is that how we were meant to live? Like, were we meant to like torture ourselves from Monday through Friday and then Saturday and Sunday have freedom of expression through running 5K marathons or, gardening or doing like, is that what you think your existence should be? And I was almost going to say no shade to those people, but since we're being real in this episode, I really think that if you're living that existence, you have to go back to step one of this and just realize, like, how many masks do I have on? And why do I have them on? Like, why am I putting a mask on for someone else? And what's the cost of that? Because I'm telling you, there is a cost. And I made the example of a content creator earlier, but it's not just content creators, it's anybody who you see who is successful and happy. I'm going to put an and happy because some people are successful and not happy. It's because they are embracing this idea of self-expression. And that is so powerful. So for me, what has that looked like? Well, ByteBow, my tech company, tech education, I got to a point where I was working with some people and I started to be like, these people they don't really appreciate what I'm doing. They don't really respect the value that I'm bringing. And I had to end the business relationship. And I'm reflecting on it and I'm like, well, this is not the first time that I've walked away from things that were seemingly lucrative because I had some sort of difference of how I was being viewed and how I was being treated. And at the core of all of that is if you are expressing yourself and you feel there's a certain value to that and you feel like you're not getting that value from the other side, you've got to move away from it. You've got to. And that is hard. That's the pivot, right? Pivots look messy. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. Me with ByteBow over the past 4 years, it has been messy. I've gone from data privacy type consulting to working to teach lawyers about Web3 education, and then doing more of the legal consulting for the Web3 startups. And then back to like Web3 education out in emerging markets, which I'm doing right now, which is great because it's closer to who I am as a person, wanting to give in these spaces where this type of education is somewhat not accessible. But at the end of the day, I think I find most of my joy and what really makes me thrive and feel happy in just creating certain types of content, interviewing people, talking to you guys. I'm not going to lie that I do love luxury hotels, and I'm building a lot more travel into this entrepreneurship discussion we talk about. We talk about building a business abroad. Well, if you're going to do that, you got to travel, right? So that's what I like. But the shift, the pivot is messy. And it's not just about like changing business, but it's about changing how you see yourself, like really looking into that, and then like how you show up. Because there is no way, there's no way that you can be the same person on day one of your business as you are on year four. There's no way. And if you are, I don't know what kind of business that is. Maybe you knew all along, but for most people, entrepreneurship has a lot of pivots. It has a lot. And you reinvent yourself, you fall, you get back up, you fall, you get back up, but you've got to do it. And this journey, I always say, entrepreneurship, journey and self-discovery, it's like being on a shrink's in front of the whole world to see. And that's scary, right? That's scary because people are going to see. I have my newsletter. I'm sending out newsletters. People are going to see, oh, she's doing this, oh, she's doing that, she's changing. So my point to you guys is, do not worry. It's going to be messy when you pivot, when you take off your mask, when you start thinking about your self expression and how you want that to show up. It's going to be messy, but you've got to experiment. I first started doing TikToks when I was in Singapore. We made one TikTok, me and the kids, and it was basically like, oh, we've been living in Singapore for about 6 years now, on and off, because we had two stints. And I'm like, and some of us are just ready to go. And my son was like, I'm ready to go and get out of this restrictive place. Now, he was a child, right? He was like, I think he was like 8 or 9 at the time. And he said it because of COVID. We were in Singapore during COVID. And the crazy comments we got from Singaporeans, like, "Well, if you don't like it, you can just go. Oh, why are you here?" And then people were like, "Oh, I bet Africa would love to have you." Like the craziest stuff that people were saying. And that was the first time I was like, wow, this social media is powerful. People getting really upset. But I like, okay, I didn't like that type of exposure. I didn't feel comfortable with it. So I went ahead and, started doing lighter stuff, having no idea about what I'm doing. Same with Instagram. But then I started getting, people reaching out from magazines like, oh, we heard you're living abroad. You got these kids. This is interesting, yada, yada. So I started doing features and media and stuff. And most recently, last month, I was in Essence magazine. And for those of you who are Black Americans, you know that Essence and Ebony magazine are like, the pinnacle of Black excellence. And so that was a huge honor to be even just part of a story in there, about being a Black woman entrepreneur in Dubai and what that is. But that's a messy, guys. That's a messy pivot from law, working at a firm in Connecticut, to that. It's a crazy, messy pivot. And I just want you guys to know that if you are listening to this show, if you are watching, I am being so real with you. I'm showing you are, every time you see a guest show up, for those of you that follow the YouTube channel, you see a guest show up and you see someone come on my channel, just know this is part of the journey. Oh, look, Jamilia here. She's got no makeup. Oh, she got makeup today. She must have learned. She looked crazy. Like all these things, like we're seeing the journey, and that's for you to use as an example of what does it really look like when someone is starting to lean into their self-expression. And there's so many examples of this. I can go on and on and on and on. But you should know that the passion and the energy that I feel for this show is real. And if you got to this point where you're 22 minutes in or 20 minutes in and you're listening, much love to you, because it's people like you who listen and support the show that are really like my day ones. I want to let you know I really appreciate you listening, and leave comments. The best thing you can do for me is leave a comment either on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or wherever, leave a comment, like the show, share the show, hype me up. I don't know if any of you are on TikTok, but there's this trend called hype me up going on. It's hilarious. But that's what this is. You're seeing what I talk about unfold in real life. We're going to have more guests, we're going to have bigger conversations, and more of you. So, in conclusion, who wants to tell me what are the things I just talked about to you guys? First off, you got to know that you have a mask on. Please, if you're at the end of this episode, I want you to identify what your masks are. I challenge you to identify 3. I bet you have 3. I had many more. I still have some, but I think everybody has at least 3. And that's, you've got to identify it. There's no way to go through this process lying to yourself. It's not working. The second thing you have to do is you have to realize how much money are you leaving on the table by keeping these masks on. These masks are not helping you. I mean, from a psychological standpoint, it's making you feel safe. But from a business standpoint, it's keeping you broke. So it's time for you to tap into your real talents, your real self-expression, and use that as a way to pivot to your success. And lastly, just know it's going to be messy. If you're going to have any pivot, it's going to be messy. You're going to have to break off some relationships, either personal or business. I didn't even talk about personal ones. That's a whole nother episode. Personal relationships. And you're going to have to commit to this. You're going to have to go all in. So that is my challenge to you. Just remember that authenticity, it's not just marketing. It's your stamina. It's what's going to keep you in this. It's going to make you not just successful, but happy. No one wants to get to a point where they have everything that they've wanted and they feel hollow. That is depression. That is a recipe for depression. And I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. I love updates on where you're at in this journey. And let's do this. It's been a pleasure speaking to you as always. Oh, I'd also give a shout out to let you guys know, if you haven't gone to JamiliaGrier.com, we now have blog articles for episodes. So if you want more like behind the scenes or what was going on, if you're not caught up on the YouTube videos, I just did a vlog about my son graduating from high school in Dubai as a Black American. And that's a very interesting discussion. So check out all the stuff. And I would love to hear from you. Make sure you comment. And thank you for being part of the journey. As always, take care. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to today's episode. You know, I appreciate when you guys tune in and the time that you take to listen to the show and support us. And I have one thing that I'd love for you to do that would really help us out, which is rate the show. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you rate it. You can do it on whatever platform you're listening on. That would do wonders for us. And if you really want to be a super fan and really support the show, there's a link below that you can support us and donate a small monthly contribution, which allows us to continue to create great content for you. Thanks so much again. Appreciate you, and see you next time.